I mean, it was like I wanted to make sure that I was in complete control of my situation, as did, my management team. And so I had the creative space to just figure out myself and figure out my sound and who and what I was going to represent.
Today, let me tell you a story about her, the woman who changed the music industry. Not by showing her face, but by hiding it.
H.E.R, what does it stand for?
It stands for having everything revealed.
Having
Yes.
everything revealed.
Yes.
She could play 5 instruments before she could even spell her name. She wrote songs before she hit middle school. And by 8 years old, she had already published her first poetry book.
H.E.R featuring Daniel Caesar.
But when it was finally her moment to shine, she did something no one in the industry expected. She vanished. Then one day she came back, covered in mystery. Sunglasses on, no interviews, no selfies, no spotlight, just pure music.
I Can't Breathe, H.E.R.
And I didn't imagine that my fear and that my pain would turn into impact and it would possibly turn into change.
The world didn't know her name, her face, or her story. But her voice? It stopped people in their tracks. And behind those glasses was one of the most powerful stories in modern music, full of pain, rebellion, and a quiet kind of genius that refused to be controlled. This is the story of H.E.R, how a girl from Vallejo, California, rose from prodigy to powerhouse and rewrote the rules of fame by hiding in plain sight.
H.E.R, Darnst Emile II, and T.R. Thomas for Fight for You, Judas and the Black Messiah.
Born Gabriela Sarmiento Wilson on June 27, 1997 in Vallejo, California, she didn't grow up surrounded by fame. She grew up surrounded by sound. Her father, Kenny Wilson, was a working musician in a local band called Urban Bushmen. The family's living room, a full-on jam session. Her Filipino mother, Agnes, was a nurse by day and a drummer by heart, and her relatives played every instrument you could imagine. In that house, music wasn't just a hobby. It was the family language. And from the moment Gabriela could walk, she was speaking it fluently. At 3 years old, she was already playing 5 instruments: piano, drums, guitar, bass, and keys. By 8, she had written her own poetry book called Anything on Earth Poems. While other kids were learning multiplication, she was writing love songs and playing with full chords. Her parents didn't realize it yet, but their daughter wasn't just gifted. She was born to shake the entire industry. The world first got a taste of that when she was only 10. On the Today Show, a tiny Gabriela sat at a piano and belted out Alicia Keys' If I Ain't Got You. It was a moment straight out of a movie. A little girl with the poise of a seasoned artist. Every note hit with soul. Every word carried emotion. By the time she finished, the studio audience was speechless. The performance went viral before viral even meant anything. That one song, that one day, changed everything. Suddenly, she was the next big thing. The new Alicia Keys, a child prodigy being courted by some of the biggest names in the business. At 11, she performed at the legendary Apollo Theater, the same stage where legends are born or forgotten. She sang Aretha Franklin's Freeway of Love and had the crowd on its feet. 2 years later, she shared a BET award stage, performing Alicia Keys' Fallen. She wasn't just talented, she was unstoppable. But as her star rose, so did the pressure, and that's where things took a turn. At just 14, Gabriela signed a record deal with RCA Records, a massive label under Sony. It should have been the dream. But instead, it became the start of an identity crisis that almost broke her. Because while Gabriela wanted to make music, the label wanted to make a product. Executives told her how to dress, how to smile, how to act more relatable, how to fit into a box that never belonged to her in the first place. And slowly, the bright, fearless kid from Vallejo started to fade. The stage lights felt colder, the recording booth lonelier, and the people around her stopped asking what she wanted. She wasn't making music anymore. She was being managed. Then came the final straw. Her 2014 single, Something to Prove, dropped under her real name, Gabriela Wilson. And despite her voice, her talent, her everything, the world barely noticed. The label didn't push it. The hype died fast. And the same people who promised her the world started moving on to the next it girl for Gabriela. That moment cut deep. The machine that was supposed to make her famous had chewed her up and spit her out. And so she vanished. No public appearances, no studio photos, no posts, just silence. For almost 2 years, Gabriela Wilson was gone. But what nobody knew was that she was reinventing everything, including herself. Because while the world forgot about her, she was quietly writing, producing, and finding her voice again, the real one. She started building a new identity, one that wasn't about fame or looks or marketing. It was about truth, raw, unfiltered emotion. And when she finally returned, she didn't just come back with a new name. She came back with a message. In late 2016, the world met her, having everything revealed. But the irony? She revealed nothing. No face, no interviews, no identity, just pure R&B, deep, soulful, and mysterious. Her debut project, her Volume 1, dropped with no promo and no photos, just 7 tracks that felt like a diary written in melody. No marketing team, no press run, no announcement. Yet somehow, the world noticed. It was slow at first, whispers, reposts, curiosity. But when artists like Usher, Tyrese, and Alicia Keys started co-signing her online, people started asking, who is this girl? Then came the viral moment that changed everything. Rihanna posted an Instagram clip with H.E.R's song, Focus, playing in the background. 5 million views later, the mystery became a movement. Everyone wanted to know, who is H.E.R? And for the first time, anonymity became fame. But beneath the cool shades and calm voice, Gabriella was making a statement, a rebellion against the same system that once tried to control her. She didn't just step back into the industry. She came back on her own terms, and that's when things started to explode. Once Rihanna posted that clip with H.E.R's song, Focus, everything changed overnight. The mystery became magnetic. Fans couldn't stop talking about her. Who was this faceless voice that had Rihanna, Alicia Keys, and Usher all obsessed? Bloggers started calling her the industry's best-kept secret. And for once, being invisible made her untouchable. H.E.R didn't need an image. Her voice was the image. The oversized sunglasses, the shadowy lighting, the refusal to show her face. It wasn't a gimmick, it was a statement. She wanted to strip away the noise, the pressure, the comparisons. No more being told how to look or what to wear. It was about the music again, the emotion, the soul, the truth. And that truth resonated. Her lyrics felt like late-night confessions, lines about heartbreak, anxiety, power, and healing. The kind of words that made fans say, she gets it. People started making TikToks crying to Focus, and couples were dedicating Best Part to each other like it was a modern-day wedding song. Slowly, H.E.R. became the soundtrack to real people's lives. By 2017, her fan base had grown from a whisper to a movement. She followed up with H.E.R. Volume 2, and that sealed it. The music industry couldn't ignore her anymore. Critics called her a musical ghost who haunts the R&B charts. The anonymity made her even bigger because nobody could distract from the music. All anyone could do was feel it. That year, she released a compilation album simply titled H.E.R, blending volumes 1 and 2 into one masterpiece. It hit number 23 on the Billboard 200. Not bad for someone who refused to show her face. But the real power came at the Grammys. 5 nominations in a single night. Best New Artist, Album of the Year, Best R&B Performance, Best R&B Album, and she took home 2 of them. When she walked up to accept her first Grammy, her face hidden behind those signature shades, the industry finally got the message. This wasn't just about mystery anymore, it was about mastery. H.E.R. had arrived, and the world was watching. The Grammys changed everything. Suddenly, she was everywhere. Award shows, late-night performances, collaborations with artists like Daniel Caesar, Bryson Tiller, and YG. That soft-spoken, mysterious girl had become the new face of authentic R&B. Her live performances weren't about choreography or flash. They were about emotion. She'd stand there barefoot, guitar in hand, and silence a room of thousands. But while the world was falling in love with her, behind the scenes, she was battling her own doubts. Because fame was creeping back in. The same spotlight she ran from was now chasing her harder than ever. Her mystery had become her brand, and suddenly, she felt like she was living inside her own mask. Everyone wanted a piece of her. Labels, sponsors, producers, all pushing her to reveal more, post more, be more. It was the same pressure she'd escaped years ago, just dressed in new clothes. By 2020, H.E.R. had become one of the most in-demand artists in the world. Her songs were charting. Her name was being whispered in the same sentences as SZA, Summer Walker, and even Beyonce. But while those artists built empires on their image, H.E.R. built hers on what she hid. And that made her stand out even more. She was mystery, artistry, and rebellion, wrapped into one. Then came 2021, her most defining year yet. Her song, I Can't Breathe, written in response to the killing of George Floyd and the protests that followed, hit the world like an emotional thunderclap. It wasn't just a song, it was a statement. It was pain turned into poetry, grief turned into gospel. And that moment cemented her as something bigger than just a singer. She became a voice for her generation. That song won her the Grammy for Song of the Year. And that same year, she performed America the Beautiful at the Super Bowl. Electric guitar in hand, black leather, sunglasses, flawless. Millions of viewers watching, some not even realizing they were witnessing one of the most revolutionary performances of the decade. Because H.E.R. wasn't just performing the national anthem, she was reclaiming it. A black Filipino woman standing center stage, blending activism and artistry in one breathtaking moment. But H.E.R. wasn't done making history. In April 2021, she walked into the Academy Awards and walked out with an Oscar. Her song, Fight for You, from the movie Judas and the Black Messiah, won Best Original Song. At just 23 years old, she had a Grammy, an Oscar, and a spot in music history. The same girl who once refused to show her face was now unstoppable. She didn't need to be seen to be legendary. She just needed to be heard. But success, fame, and power have a dark side. The same fire that lights you up can burn you alive. And by the end of 2022, the cracks started to show. H.E.R. was everywhere. From the Grammys to stadium tours to acting in movies like The Color Purple, her calendar was packed. Her face, or at least her silhouette, was on every poster. But behind the shades, exhaustion was setting in. She was performing for 60,000 people a night on Coldplay's world tour, traveling across continents, never stopping, never breathing. And in those quiet hotel rooms after the lights went out, she started asking herself questions that scared her. Who am I doing this for? Why am I doing this? What happened to the girl who just wanted to make music? The fame that she once feared had finally caught her. And this time, there was no mask big enough to hide behind. H.E.R. started to feel disconnected from her own music. The industry had learned to respect her artistry, but still tried to control it. Everyone wanted to shape her next move, her sound, her image, her collaborations. She realized that while she'd escaped one system, she'd walked straight into another one. Just more subtle, more disguised, and even more demanding. She was living the dream, but it started feeling like a nightmare. The pressure, the travel, the expectations, it was all building up. And right when it felt like she was about to break, fate stepped in again. That's when an old name from her past reappeared. The one woman who unknowingly changed her life years before, Diane Warren, the songwriting legend behind hits for Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, and so many more. H.E.R. had met Diane when she was only 14, back when she was just Gabriella Wilson, still figuring out who she wanted to be. They'd only crossed paths once, but Diane remembered her. Years later, in 2022, Warren had written a song, and somehow, she knew it was meant for her. They got in the studio together. No cameras, no lights, just H.E.R., a microphone, and emotions spilling out. What came out of that session was a song called The Journey. It wasn't just music, it was therapy. One take, one shot, tears streaming down her face as she sang. That recording became her turning point. A reminder that even in an industry built on noise, silence still had power. That song reconnected H.E.R. with the reason she started all this in the first place. The music, the feeling, the message. It wasn't about the spotlight anymore. It was about healing. She had finally found her way back to herself. But this time, she wasn't hiding. She was standing tall, shades on, guitar in hand, ready to take back control. Again, after that emotional reset, H.E.R. came back different. Not louder, but freer. She entered what she called her selfish phase, a period where she stopped saying yes to everything and started asking herself what she really wanted. For the first time, she wasn't trying to please labels, executives, or fans. She was protecting her peace. She told interviewers, "I'm comfortable with being alone a lot, and that's a really healthy place to be." And that right there was the difference. The little girl from Vallejo, who grew up surrounded by noise, had finally learned the power of silence. She wasn't chasing hits anymore. She was chasing meaning. That new mindset opened doors she never expected. She began taking more control over her music, her visuals, and even her business. The same industry that once tried to mold her was now looking to her for direction. She was setting the tone, not following it. Her debut full-length album, Back of My Mind, dropped and went straight to #1 on Billboard's R&B albums chart. It was intimate, honest, and grown, a love letter to herself and to the art of taking things slow. Songs like Damage and Come Through reminded fans why she stood out in a sea of overproduced pop. It wasn't about perfection, it was about presence. At the same time, H.E.R. started mentoring younger artists. She wanted to show them that you don't have to lose yourself to make it. She became the quiet big sister of modern R&B, the one who'd been through the machine and found her own way out. Artists began to cite her as an influence, saying she gave them the courage to be authentic, to be private, to take their time. And while she stayed low-key, H.E.R.'s reach kept expanding. She picked up acting roles, like her part in The Color Purple, where she brought her musical soul to the big screen. She started collaborating with female artists who shared her vision of raw artistry, building a sisterhood of women in music who weren't afraid to lead differently. Her performances became something else entirely. When she hit the stage, it wasn't about the pyrotechnics or the dancers. It was about energy, that invisible thread that connects artist to audience. Every time she picked up that transparent Fender Stratocaster, the crowd would go silent because they knew what was coming. Real music. No gimmicks. Just her. Then came the Super Bowl 57 performance with Usher. Her on electric guitar, shredding through You Got It Bad and Bad Girl. The crowd lost it. It wasn't just a guest feature, it was a statement. She had come full circle from a 10-year-old covering Alicia Keys on daytime TV to sharing one of the biggest stages in the world, on her own terms. But what really made people respect her wasn't just the awards or the performances. It was her consistency, the way she stayed true when everything around her screamed for her to sell out. Even as brands came calling and Hollywood tried to polish her edges, she stayed grounded. Still that same quiet storm. Still the girl who let her music speak first. Of course, the rumors kept coming. People whispering about her dating life, linking her to Skip Marley after their collaboration. But she never confirmed anything. No posts, no thirst traps, no PR stunts, just art. In a world where everybody overshares, her became the most powerful kind of mystery. The kind you can't scroll past. Behind the scenes, she started pouring her energy into building something lasting, expanding her sound, writing for films, even exploring new genres. She wasn't afraid to experiment, to take risks. Because when you've already built an empire without showing your face, what's left to fear? The Coldplay tour had taught her something important, that intimacy doesn't depend on venue size. Watching Chris Martin connect with 80,000 people taught her that real performance isn't about scale. It's about sincerity, and that changed everything about how she approached the stage. Whether it was a tiny theater or a packed arena, she performed like she was singing in someone's living room. By 2025, H.E.R. had turned mystery into a movement. She had proven that you can protect your privacy, your peace, and your purpose, and still dominate. Her estimated net worth had crossed the multi-million mark. But more importantly, her respect in the industry was priceless. She had achieved something most artists never do: balance. She still lives privately, far away from paparazzi lenses. No scandals, no feuds, no tabloid wars. Just craft, just focus, just her. And that's what makes her story so powerful. In a world obsessed with exposure, she built a legacy on the exact opposite. She hid her face and revealed her soul. But make no mistake, H.E.R. isn't finished. This isn't the end of the story. This is only a new chapter, the next evolution. She's already working on new music, new visuals, and new ways to push boundaries. And if her journey has taught us anything, it's that H.E.R. doesn't just adapt to the industry, she changes it. Because while most artists chase the spotlight, she became the light. And that's what makes her unstoppable. From Vallejo to the Grammys, from child prodigy to cultural icon, from invisible to unforgettable. She proved that real power doesn't come from being seen. It comes from being felt. And maybe that's the real secret behind her. So what do y'all think? Did she rewrite the rulebook for fame forever? Or will the industry try to pull her back into the spotlight again? Drop your thoughts down below. Hit that like button if you felt this story. Subscribe for more wild deep dives like this. And as always, this is Spill Zone, and I'll see you in the next one.